Hello and welcome to ReCall The Midwife. We are a fan podcast. Every week we watch an episode of Call The Midwife and then we talk about it. This week we're talking about episode 6 of series 10. I'm Becky.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jen. A reminder that this week's episode deals with adoption, grief and loss, trauma, abortion, and domestic abuse. So if those topics are ones you would prefer to skip this time, we understand and hope you join us for the next one. In this week's episode, a baby is born before arrival in a building that also houses the Gupta family. Mr. Gupta is concerned for his pregnant wife, Sarita, and goes to Nonnatus to ask for help. Phyllis visits Sarita and offers care, which Sarita initially refuses. After Mr. Gupta comes home to find the house filled with toxic gas from a lethal cleaning combo, he insists they go to the doctor. Sarita reveals that a childhood trauma is the source of her fear and anxiety. As Sister Frances has just started an evening class for Asian mothers, Sarita is able to engage and she delivers a baby boy in the maternity home. Meanwhile, Trixie and Nancy treat Mrs. Watson, a mother with many children and an abusive and now unemployed husband. Mrs. Watson is pregnant again and struggling. When she attempts to end her pregnancy, she contracts a bad infection and Dr. Turner and Trixie support her, but Nancy disapproves. Trixie writes a letter to the Times and it's published. It causes a stir among the Nonnatus House, but then Trixie is invited on a popular radio program to discuss. Sister Julianne agrees to it, and Trixie does well. Everyone listens in the parlor and is deeply moved. Nancy confesses to the group that she fell pregnant, but instead of abortion chose to have the baby, and her child was put into an orphanage. Sister Julianne is deeply disappointed in this deception, and Nancy's future with Nonnatus is unsure. There was a lot going on, and I was really trying to find a way to condense it all because everything was kind of interwoven and had to do with each other in a lot of ways.
I feel like these later episodes are getting more and more like that. At first, I felt it was more simple.
Yeah.
The focus on what's right now. They're all interwoven and they're thinking about storylines for the future. So there's all these, and we're like trying to keep up at the same time.
Also, quick thing I'll say is I know in the last few episodes last few episodes of the podcast we've been discussing like, did Heidi Thomas or the writers of this episode now know what they were trying to foreshadow for the future? And this episode really made me think, yes, they've known all along and they've been planning this whole thing the whole time. Like I know you did. And I've been on the fence about it because some things don't get revealed for like 2 more seasons or like
playing
a long time
game,
in the future. And that's the thing is that they are really, really like, I'm like, oh, well, that must mean this and that must mean blah. And I will say this, the thing with I'll say the thing about Miss Higgins when we get to it. Anyways, just to say, I was definitely more in the they've been planning it all along camp after this week's episode.
Well, they must have been locking down people in their contracts because if they're going to be planning that far ahead, they need to make sure people don't leave.
Absolutely.
Well, they had more. It was COVID, so people were terrified for the jobs. So they had more.
Well, can I just say, did you notice the social distancing in this episode?
Yes, and the masks.
Yes. Do they not normally wear masks?
No, they haven't worn masks at all. Like, but it's only this season that it started.
Well, the definite social distancing when they were at the evening classes, everyone was stood 2 meters apart.
Yeah, that's right.
When they were sitting down at the table,
the 5 of them
sat down at a chair in between.
Did you notice that Dr. Turner and Sheila, when they were listening to the radio program, like first she was on the opposite couch from his chair, then she was stood like so far back behind him when they were listening, and it was like a one shot.
It's been a logistical nightmare.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
I mean, it was a nightmare for all of us, but all I'm saying is they wanted job security. They had clout this time, Call The Midwife, so they were like, do you know what? I'm going to lock you down for another 2 series. This is your storyline that we're going with.
Well, and my thing would be like during COVID, like, did they not get everybody into a bubble, together?
Well, I think people were in little bubbles. So Trixie, Lucille, and Nancy.
And Sister Frances.
Were in their own bubble, you think?
I think.
And there's Crane.
You've got Sheila and Dr. Turner.
They have to be in their own one.
Yeah, there's definite bubbles. I've not gotten to the bottom of it yet. I will.
Yeah. I also noticed that, but didn't write any of it down, and now I can't remember one.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even begin to parse any of it, but yeah.
Cyril and Lucille never go near each other for a couple that's newly engaged.
Well, also, guess what, you guys? Sister Monica Joan wasn't even in this episode. Do we think she had COVID?
No, but do you think it's because of her age?
Maybe, because she was vulnerable.
Yeah.
Also, I thought Sister Frances had really reduced roles in like 2 episodes. I thought she's only just that. I wondered if she'd had COVID and they had to like really reduce her role in that episode.
Well, also, do you love how when Trixie came in to buy the Times, Fred was like he was like
Yeah.
outside of the shop, and then he came back in, he's like, "Oh, Nurse Franklin," and then she's like, "Okay, Fred," and then she takes the newspaper, and then he like still stands in the doorway to talk to her to be like as far away as possible.
We're going to be going into school, speaking to our grandchildren, being like, yes, during COVID, it
I
was a
know.
weird time.
I
We
know.
got a letter from the government, and I kept that because I was like, when we were at school and we learned about World War II and our grandparents like produced stuff
Yeah.
from, I was like, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be
I got my
You mean-
grandma in because she was an
You mean
evacuee.
when you lived the past for the first time, Bex, and then you learned so much, and then you traveled into the future, and then you were like, okay, I'm now going to take all this knowledge with me.
Dave.
Can we actually start on the actual episode?
Yeah,
Yes. Who do we want to talk about first?
Should we talk about Nurse Crane running first? That made me absolute howl. I don't know why it made me laugh so much. But she was like, there's an emergency at Tavistock House, the BBA, which I heard as BBL, which is terrible, the Brazilian
Oh,
bum lift.
Brazilian butt lifts. Can you imagine if they were like, girls, district rounds, BBL, on alert?
Yeah, but they must have had that same issue from other people because then they said born before arrival, like she wouldn't know what it was. They were like,
Well,
the BBA, born before arrival.
I thought that was for Nancy's benefit because she
No, I know,
obviously would have
I
had
know.
no idea, but yeah.
Although Brazilian bum lifts were big in the 60s.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
And that episode set the scene for the episode because we meet Mandu, who's just had a baby born
Yeah.
before arrival.
Yes, but she's not in it
But
that much.
No, she's bleeding heavily. Oh my God. The trigger warning they should have put a trigger warning out there for that piece of placenta.
Oh, that was horrible. I mean, even I'm not squeamish, but that was really, really bad. That
Well,
was
it was
really,
just
really
like
bad.
gratuitous placenta shot. And then again, I'm just like, come on, why?
Also, how on earth do you piece together that no, there's a bit still in
This is
They do it though,
exactly
don't
my
they?
question. How do you
know.
know when it's all there?
Yeah, but they
'Cause
do.
literally- I know they do, but the thing is that like, Lucille literally like she plopped a thing into the bowl. It wasn't like it was like a piece. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a blob.
It
Like
wasn't like it had like clearly
it didn't-
defined edges.
Yeah,
you'd
it
be
didn't
like,
have
that's
form
the
or shape or
hexagonal
anything.
piece we're looking for.
Oh, it was horrible.
Well, anyway, she had to go to hospital, but she was upset because only the family should see her after the birth in her Indian tradition. That's what that's what her friend said. And this got Sister Francis basically starting a crusade to get all Indian women to trust her. Can I just say, I love it. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, it was great. But also, then she was like trying to get all modern women to trust her a few weeks back with the magazines. I'm like,
She just wants everybody to trust her.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, also like don't forget like it was more than just that like the custom. It was also the fact that like the Asian mothers just don't even want to engage at all.
Yeah.
Like they
Well,
literally
that's why
don't
she'd given
even.
birth. That's why she'd had a Brazilian bum lift at home.
Yes, exactly. Like
Can I-
nature intended.
Can we just quickly talk about Sister Francis then getting funding from Violet?
Okay, here's a question I have about this. So, do you want to give a little backstory as to like what's going on here, Bex?
Well, she goes to Sister Julienne and says she wants to do this and she wants to have an evening class because she thinks the personal touch is going to be better.
Yeah.
Sister Julienne says that she can do the first class, but in future, if she wants it to continue, she needs to be able to cover the future costs. What are the costs? Some tea bags and do you think they have to hire the hall?
I was about to say they might have to
Yeah,
hire the hall,
I think
and
that's what it
also
is.
they were going to get a translator. This is before she knew that Miss Higgins was the translator,
Yeah.
Right.
and you can't also guarantee that Miss Higgins is going to be free every day. She's every time they do it because she's a very busy woman.
Well, also, what if like
I think
Mm.
she is going to be free.
So
But what if they need to pay to have somebody come in and teach the class one week or something, or get like a speaker or something like there's always a cost.
The costs are going to be minimal.
I know, but Sister Juliet has to think about it.
she's not
Come on now.
got loads of money, Bex.
No, it
They
got
have
me
like
that
negative money.
she had to fill out the forms in triplicate.
I know.
Okay, so wait,
Okay.
here's my question before we get too far in. So Frances goes to the haberdashers and she's like, "Oh, hello, Mrs. Buckle, la, 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 whatever." And can I just say, okay, quick
I've written
pause.
FFS Violet here, by the way.
Well, okay, so this is my question. So I have a feeling now I know what you're going to say to my question. But quick pause before I ask my question, which is that like, what's the name of those racks that like spin
Yeah.
around, okay, with all the little like slots and everything?
Yeah.
And she had all the Butterick patterns and like the Vogue patterns and this, the different clothing patterns. Oh, girls. I freaking loved it. I love vintage patterns. I have some. They're amazing. Now, one thing I have to say is the sizing is insane. So if you're anything above like a size 10, like forget it. But oh my God. And like they had little kid patterns in there. There was one this little baby bunting thing with like a little jacket and the little kid looked like a little marshmallow head. Like it was so, oh my God.
What if that's a matinee jacket?
Oh my goodness. I was so into that. Okay. And the reason it stood out is because Violet's head was like literally right by it. So every time they cut to her, you could see it really good. Anyways.
Yeah.
So Francis is like, okay, well, I have a question about council funds for this class I want to take, basically. And Violet is like, okay, well, the thing is that like I talk about that with people when I have my office hours for the council at nighttime, like whatever, come to my office hours. And she's like, oh, well, I know, but couldn't I just ask you a really quick question right now? And she's like, well, you can, but the thing is that like I'm Mrs. Buckle haberdasher right now, but at night I'm Mrs. Buckle city councilwoman. And I was like, okay, she was being a bit too much there, but here's my question. Do you think it's like rude, or do you think it actually is like healthy boundary setting?
I think it's
1966.
And
It's
I'll just say this,
1966. There's no boundaries in 1966.
but aren't people just going to be coming in and asking her 8,000 questions a day? And then she's going to like, how's she going to keep track of it? How's she going to deal with it? She doesn't have the forms. And then
no, I knew you were
like,
going to say this. I agree that it is boundary setting, but at the same time, how much Nonnatus House does for all around the area. It's not like they do so much.
It's not as if Joe Bloggs from the flats, who she's never met, has come in. Like for one of the nuns, she could have let it slide. Yeah. I do get that Violet was boundary setting, and she's running a business. So if everybody's coming in there to talk about council business, she just can't be having that.
I didn't have a strong feeling one way or the other. Like, I'm not trying to tip the scale to say like, oh, this is what I think. I just was curious what you guys thought, because I was like, first I thought she was being really like strange and pedantic about it, but then I was like, well, maybe this is just because I get, I don't really have healthy boundaries about a lot of things.
I think she took it slightly too far, but then I think that was the comedy aspect of it.
Yeah, because it was comedy music in the background, wasn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. So then Sister Francis turns up to the meeting,
and she's like,
then she wants a full bloody breakdown. It's despite the fact that it's only a little quick sketch. She would have only done this thing to her before and said, oh, this is what I'm thinking. And she'd have been like, oh, right, well, you'll need to fill forms in. You need to do this. And then so really, all she got from that meeting was she had to take some forms away, but actually she could have gone and collected those forms and actually come up with a better plan when she went to surgery.
I don't think Violet was trying to help her with that. I think Violet was like, I have enough on my plate. I'm not trying to like take on 8,000 more projects with this lady. That's what I think.
My other thing that I loved in this episode was Miss Higgins teaming up with Sister Francis, because obviously we learned that Miss Higgins, is an expert in all things Indian culture. Her dad was in the Indian Civil Service. She lived there till she was 10. Now, one of my favourite things was when Sister Francis got her to do some leaflets, and she was like, oh, Miss Higgins, these are almost professional. And she was like, thank you.
Yes.
My favourite thing.
She's like, my Punjabi may be a little rusty, but I can do it to a level that might be almost professional.
Yeah, she was really pissed off when she said that.
My favourite thing was when they start the meeting and Sister Francis introduces everybody, and you can clearly it's their names, and then Miss Higgins then translates introducing everyone, but 90% of the words are the same because they're just people's names.
The thing is, this is the part of it where I was just like, I know they're doing real language, but it didn't sound like a real language. It was just like,
Are you trying to get us cancelled, Jen?
No, but it was like, and I think every language sounds like this, because basically when you say I am Bob or I am Jennifer or like, this is Mary, the words are not that big. I mean, even in English it's not, but in another language it just sounded like, couldn't you just be like,
also I think a lot of it depends on accent, because I did French A level and I know we were really encouraged, and it just felt like you just felt stupid going like, well, like you just felt really stupid, but at the same time it would have sounded so much better than Je m'appelle Alex. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just
absolutely. So,
but how good were those cakes look, by the way?
I'll never forget when we went to France as a teenager, and we went to buy bread, and my dad, in a really broad Cumbrian accent, went bonjour.
Bonjour.
Those cakes, how good did they look?
Yeah, they did look amazing.
Only 5 women came, and not Mrs. Gupta, so they were a bit gutted.
Well, I don't think Miss Gupta. Oh no, she didn't know. Well,
she
might have seen
the first meeting. No, the first meeting she didn't turn up. But anyway, should we get back to Mrs. Gupta then? Should we start talking about Mrs. Gupta?
Oh, I just love the Guptas.
They were so cute.
Her husband wins Cutie Husband Award. He was so lovely and lush and like just loving, the sweetest and loving and handsome and just
he did get shouted at by that horrible old lady, the neighbour.
Oh,
like, where have you been? full for you. And it's like, yeah, we're on a bike, mate. And then he looks out of his door and she's like, it's women's business. I thought, flipping it, mate. You've had 3 lines and you're awful.
He was just such a sweet, sweet husband. I was like, oh my gosh, girl, you got a good one, honestly.
Yeah.
I just loved everything about these two. Mrs. Gupta's fashion. I know that wasn't the point of the episode. I feel like Mrs. Gupta.
He was very fashionable. He was very fashionable too. Wait, is that what you said?
I feel like she could have just gone out on the streets today and looked perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're both so good looking.
Yeah, they were both attractive.
But also, so he was concerned about his wife because she hadn't gone to see a midwife or anything. And he was commenting to her.
Or anything.
No, exactly.
Nothing.
He commented to her of how the midwives had saved the neighbour's life.
Yes.
And I did like the way they spoke to each other in English.
Yeah, which really made a lot of sense, honestly. Yeah.
So anyway, he goes to Nonnatus house because he's basically concerned about this. And for Sarita.
We've got ahead of ourselves because we learn before he goes to Nonnatus house that she's got obsessive compulsive disorder because she's frantically cleaning.
Yeah.
When the midwives eventually
I didn't think it was that obvious.
Yeah, she was on her hands and knees constantly. She was always buying cleaning stuff.
Yeah, she had like...
Oh, but see, I didn't see any of that behavior until after Phyllis already went over and was like, oh, can I help you bring that in? And she was like, no. And then she's like, wait, I forgot something. And then Phyllis is like, no, love, we have to talk to each other. Like, come on, let's go. And then
maybe they cut bits because that was the second time we saw her with a load of cleaning stuff.
Yeah, that was our second trip to buy cleaning.
Oh, okay. Well, when I first saw her, she was with her husband and she was cooking dinner. And she Did you not get the scene where she's cleaning the floor and she runs out of, I think it was bleach, and then she just puts another liquid in and it starts smoking, and then her husband... I did, but that was after...
Yeah, that was after.
Yeah. I thought that was before he went to see Phyllis.
No, because what happened is that he comes
because then she doesn't feel the baby moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm figuring this out as we go, people.
I mean, how is it any different to any other week, guys?
But he goes and he's like, he tells her first that he's really concerned. Then she's like, yeah, whatever. Then he goes and talks to Phyllis, and then Phyllis comes and talks to her, and he says like, and Phyllis says to him like, oh, wouldn't it be fine if you talk to her? And he's like, no, I really think you need to tell her because you're authority figure. And then she goes and she's got the bag full of like all the cleaning supplies, and then she's like very obviously like literally laying them out on the table like in the most clear way of like bleach, ammonia,
Did you see what Nurse Crane did as well though? Because Nurse Crane obviously
took her shoes off.
Yes.
Very astute.
Yeah.
And says about the classes. She was so kind as well to her.
Right. And she even said, like, oh, like maybe you want to clean with something different. And she used the economic angle. She's like, it's cheaper, even though it's really like less toxic for everybody. And then after that is when she was like, no. And she literally apparently poured a whole bottle of bleach into this like bucket. And then she added ammonia on top of that, which is what I thought it was trying to indicate that it was toxic. And then luckily he walks in because all of a sudden all the smoke is in the house. And then...
Well, hang on, just before that,
when
Nurse Crane left, Mrs. Gupta was so nervous, like she basically looked like she was having a panic attack.
Yeah, she did. Because you could tell she was like checking on her heart rate or her breathing, wasn't she?
Yeah, she kind of held it together while Nurse Crane was there. So I'm like, oh, what else is going on? I thought OCD, but then I thought, why is she so like? And then there was another scene where she was walking with shopping and the train was a loud noise, and that caused her to kind of have a panic attack as well. So it's like all the noise shocked her, and she was always cleaning. So it was like the trauma of the train. This is where we heard about the trauma of the train. Her husband talking to her about it.
Well, and she really reveals it when she meets with the Turners. So like Sheila's there when she sees Dr. Turner, and he says, the baby's fine, but I think, we got to get to the bottom of this or whatever. And but here's the thing. Does anybody know? I don't know what this cultural reference is because it didn't sound like just a train journey. It sounded like forced displacement.
Yeah. Partition.
Sorry. Okay, I missed that. Okay, sorry. Okay,
so
now
they did
because
I didn't know about this. So they were forced to move from West Punjab to East Punjab.
It was basically the formation of India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And she was only 5, but her mother was beaten and then urinated on by the guards.
And murdered. I mean, she died on that train.
Oh, well, she was thrown off the train.
Yeah, but they said her body, so I thought they'd already killed her at that point. Yeah.
And then moving,
horrifying, yeah.
Her aunt basically gave birth on the train and the baby died.
And train, yeah.
Oh, God.
That's what's then as Mrs. Gupta's got pregnant, that's like triggered her OCD and the trauma from that.
Well, and I mean, God bless Dr. Turner. Like this is not his fault, but he goes, she like finishes telling the story. She's like really moved. It's really sad. It's really painful and everything. And then Dr. Turner's like, what you've just described is what we call trauma. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Okay, we got it. Like as if, I mean, it was just one of those moments where I was like, duh? Like, of course it's a trauma, my man. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
but what he did do, which was great, was get Sister Francis on board with her care, because obviously Sister Francis is trying to do this program. She's trying to earn trust, so he got her on board, which I think was a really, really lovely idea.
Oh, it was a perfect idea. Yes, absolutely.
And then Mrs. Gupta goes to the meeting, but how cute was her husband dropping her off there?
I loved her husband, you guys. Like
loitering outside the glass doors to make sure she's actually like started talking to them.
I know. He's like, don't you come back out here. But it was so cute. It was so cute. I mean, he should win one of our, like, retroactively, like one of our best husbands or something like that, or like most cutest husband or whatever, because he was just such a sweetie pie. Like, and he was so stylish. Like, he just hit. Oh, I just love that man.
You know what else I really loved then? So they had this like montage scene where all the people are speaking to each other there. The nuns are there having a good time. Miss Higgins doing good translation. They're all sharing food. They're having a nice time. And there was music playing. It was I'll Be There by Jerry and the Pacemakers. And I thought, nice. They're trying to say about how, you know, this is their new family all together. And the food looked flaming delicious. I was starving watching this. So after the meeting, Mrs. Gupta goes into labour and she goes into the maternity home with Sister Francis and Dr. Turner waiting for her. And it was so calm and beautiful. And she noticed a dot on the sheet, didn't she? And Sister Francis was like, don't worry, we'll change it right now. Like, it was just very all about her.
I was going to say about this, because when I first saw that, I was like, they've not done a good job with the sheets. But they did then say that it was from when her waters had broken. But I mean, I've not got OCD, so I don't want to trivialise this, but I'm fine with my own dirt. Like, if it's your own dirt, I feel like it's fine.
Oh yeah,
but not to her though. I mean, this is her trauma. This is what she can't. Yeah.
I mean, this is why I can't go swimming, guys. I hate swimming because I hate swimming around in other people's bodily fluids.
Well, and you've got outdoor clothes, outdoor jeans.
If you wore outdoor jeans on my bed, I'd go mad at you.
Yeah, like back in the day when you used to come and stay at yours, couldn't put like a handbag on the bed or something because that's an outdoor.
It's outdoor gyms that has been on the floor. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't have some trauma that you want to unpack on this podcast right now, Al? Like, is there something from your past?
No, that was well before my birth trauma, to be fair. No, I just don't like dirty things in my lovely warm bed.
See, I find this surprising because, like, I live in New York.
The rest of your house is rank. Yeah, but I'm not dead clean freak or anything. It's just my bed. My bed's my sanctuary, Deb.
Oh, it's only the bed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but would you be fine with it on the sofa?
Like, yeah, if someone put I wouldn't love it. I'd be like, put it down on the floor. But
wait, put what? A bag on the floor?
Well, if it's been a bag that's been on the floor outside, I just think, why would you put it on someone's couch?
Here's what I find so curious about this. Like, have you ever lived in a place where you're mainly riding around on public transit and like not have access to a car or like anything like that?
Only when we were at uni.
Yeah, see, this is what I find so surprising because like in New York City, like I was constantly on like buses or, you know, subway trains or like I was walking and people are talking or anything like that. And like that I get because a lot of people in New York have like really strict, you know, like shoe policies and all that kind of thing because you really are like you're like touching and like I mean, you can't avoid a lot of like gross things, but you're going from like your house to your car to your job to a grocery store. Like you're not, I mean, when are you putting your purse on the ground?
I'm not. It's when other people come in and I wouldn't put my purse that's been on the ground on my bed anyway.
But how would other people
remember
around
if
you
you go out
at a cafe, you'd just put your bag under your chair?
Yeah.
At a cafe?
I'd probably hang it from my thing, but
what would you do with your handbag?
I'd put my handbag on the back of the chair.
Well, I wouldn't because someone could easily steal that.
Yeah, but do you remember when we used to go to clubs and stuff? I always used to have a shower after when we got home.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I probably passed out.
Yeah, you probably did. I'd have a shower because I just
well, but I mean, those nights were disgusting for like so many reasons, honestly. There was a lot of horrible stuff that we all
But also, when I go to cities and stuff, I'm really funny about my skin because I just feel dirty on my face. I think I might have a problem. You're right. Anyway.
Oh, you know what though? Actually, I do remember I went to London one time and I was walking around the city all day and I blew my nose and it was like, and I was like, oh my God. Like
it's
I
disgusting.
was truly shocked. Like, because I was just wiping my nose, and I was just like, what? I was really appalled by that. I was really appalled by that.
Yeah, you can feel it in your skin. It makes me feel funny. Anyway, so Sarita, I've got rid of her name written down here. She had a very, very calm birth. It was absolutely gorgeous birth. I felt so happy for her that she could have such a calm birth. She was silent. It was amazing. She had the most cutest little baby boy.
Oh my God. And the dad was so excited when he held the baby. It was so sweet.
And they put the black dot behind his ear for luck.
Yeah.
And his mum was like, he is safe now. And Sister Francis was like, he is.
He is. Yeah.
And also the bit at the end with them. So in their house, so other stuff happened in the episode and stuff, but at the end they do like a montage of all the people in the episode, and they were dead happy in their house with another lady, an Indian lady who obviously they've said they had no family. So I feel like this is their new
It was the same lady as Manju had in her house.
Yeah. So I think that's lovely that they kind of all
lady,
Well, it could have been family, but the point is this is her stand-in family now, and I just love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Sister Francis has done a really good job of bringing that community together and hopefully bring them into Nonnatus House.
Oh my God, you guys, wait, can I just tell you just a quick story about that? So, not about that, but about thematically that. So, yes, so my mom and I have obviously been like trying to find like our lives in our new town and everything like that. And my mom's very political lady, like she loves political stuff. And so, yesterday she told me she was going to go to the Democratic Party group or something like that at the local library. They were having a meeting yesterday morning. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like have so much fun. Like she put on a cute outfit. It was so, so cute. So, she calls me to say she's on her way home. And I'm like, well, how did it go? And she's like, oh, it went great. She's like, I had so much fun. And she's like, I sat next to this lady and she's like, I think we're friends now. And I was like, oh, and she's like, well, she gave me her phone number. So I don't know. Maybe that does not, I don't know if that means we're friends. But anyway, she gave me her phone number. So maybe we are. And I was just like, oh my God, Mom, it was so cute. It was so darn cute. So anyways, it was,
but she might be asking her out, Jen.
I mean, in 2025, you never know. But anyways, I just it was very much a similar like, you dip your toe out and then it actually turns out really positive and you feel really good about it and then it's just the sweetest thing.
And also in this day and age, completely necessary to be.
Well, and we have to meet people in real life, you guys. I mean, don't get me started, but anyways, I thought it was so lovely. And
I mean, I'm someone who doesn't like to speak to anybody that I don't know, so
yeah, I'm terrible for I try not to make new friends. I just do wherever I go.
I try not to make new friends, but I just do wherever I go. Quote
I get invited out and stuff all the time. I'm like,
people just fawn all over me, and I just can't help it.
I just can't even believe how popular I am.
Have you met me?
Well, see, this is the thing. I think this is a symptom of you more than other people because you're always like, "Hiya, blah blah blah, da, 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 blah, 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 blah." You know, you're always like talking to people. That's
I'm not being gregarious, Jen.
You're like, what's a girl to do? I'm constantly being like invited everywhere and
magnetic personality.
My personality is so exciting.
True. Just one last thing on the Francis thing as well that I really loved. Lucille was properly giving kudos to Sister Francis for how well she'd done. She was like, "You did that. That was amazing." She was saying, and I really liked that. I thought that was lovely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm back in a bubble, so she's fully encouraging her.
Right, should we talk about Connie Watson?
Cherry Watson.
What was her name?
Cherry? Oh,
I thought her name was Connie.
I forgot her name when I was writing the synopsis. That's why I didn't put it. Sorry, guys.
Well, I've got Connie for no apparent reason then. Cherry, that's much cooler name. No offense to any Connies listening. Yeah. She had 3 sugars. Bloody hell.
I liked how she said 1 for luck. I was like, oh, sweetie, you're going to need it. She looked
4
busted
for
from the
diabetes.
minute we saw her. Yeah, she looked really like busted the moment we saw her. I felt bad for her.
I mean, yeah, she had bruises all over her.
The thing is, though, with the 3 sugars, she's having she's having tea in a proper cup and saucer. That's the tiniest cup of tea ever.
It is. And also, to be fair, I was thinking she's doing well not putting ridiculous amounts of weight on there.
Well,
not according to her husband. He says you look like you've put on a bit of weight.
But he still fancies her, so good
for
her. He'll beat her up though still.
Okay.
Does he fancy her though, or is he
Sorry, Bex, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna leave that hanging.
all of the nice feelings that I feel for Mr. Gupta, I feel the opposite for Mr. Watson. He was horrible. He was even like slimy, like he literally looked greasy. Like I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it was just sorry to this actor, like that he just had like oily skin or whatever, but he just
No, I've seen him in other things. He's a lot better looking than that in real life.
Oh, they made him look bad. Like his hair was greasy, his skin was greasy. He just looked like he had bad breath even. Like he looked like he smelled bad. Like his whole thing was
if you're the actor, you did great acting.
I know. Sorry to that man, but honestly it's a compliment
No, I have seen him other stuff.
Was bad.
So he lost his job. She's pregnant. She doesn't know how to tell him. He's just on a knife's edge at all times, no matter what she says.
I know.
You know, she can just do a little joke to him and he's there turning.
He's like losing his mind, yeah.
And it's a fifth baby, including a set of twins.
Don't even get me started.
She was like, oh, the pill didn't suit and he won't. And then, well, and you won't, she was saying. And he was blaming her, but then shouts that she can't blame him.
He said, "Don't blame me for anything ever." Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Then she had a massive go at him.
But blames her by being like, "What is up with you? Like, why are you just falling pregnant like this?"
I only have to hang my coat at the end of the bed, is what he said. It's
I was like, "Sir, how often are you coming home absolutely trashed and like trying to like trolley your wife, like whether she wants it or not?" Like, I don't get the feeling this is the guy that's like, "Oh, babe," and then if she's like, "Not tonight," that he'll actually like take that for an answer. Like, I kind of get the feeling he just is like, "No, I'm going for it," you know? Sorry, but
well, yeah.
And I think she hangs a lot on the fact that, like, she says he's a good man, like
she has to say
and he
that.
loves me, like, why do you think I'm getting pregnant? But I'm like,
she has to say that. But love and sex are not the same. She has to say
that's
that.
what
sorry, Bex.
I'm gonna say.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was like, this is just the most classic abuse story that there is.
And it's the old sharp object. Ooh.
Oh God. You know what I also kind of wondered though, like just a like quick note about that line where she says like, and you won't, and I almost wondered if she meant like that she was not just condoms, but if she was implying like you won't also like let us just abstain from sex.
Yeah, you won't.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because I almost wondered if it was like she was trying to say like if you would just literally like just stop like having sex with me.
I think it was open-ended to kind of have that, like you won't wear something, but also you won't stop.
Yeah, like you won't do anything basically is what she was trying to say, I think. Okay, that's me.
And it's the classic, she says, well, he's not a bad man, he's just lost at the minute, he's lost his job. And I'm like, no, he's a scumbag.
Absolutely. He's lost all the time. He's been lost for 100 years, babe. Like it's not
he's burning cigarettes on her, for God's sake.
Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no getting found at this stage. He's just like a complete absolute scumbag.
And it was just so sad because she denied aborting the baby. So she gets the skewer and I don't even want to talk about what happens, but then
luckily it wasn't that graphic. Luckily they didn't really show it. She just showed up with the infection and then it was like, oops, you know, like.
So she's going on antibiotics, but she realizes the baby's still alive and the look on her face. But then she denies trying to abort the baby. And Nancy, your favourite Bex, she was there in the room.
Yes.
And
girls, I struggled.
Well, I'm going to ask Becky about this, but she was so ashamed and it was so sad. But she wouldn't say anything bad about her husband, even though they were there basically saying to her, look, say one word now, mate, you're out of there. Do you know what I mean? They were just so like, we can help you. You just need to say something. And she just wouldn't.
And after they talk about the botched abortion, basically, then, you know, Dr. Turner sees her. He's like, is there anything else going on? She's like, no. And then he's like, well, wait, can I see your wrist? Because he sees her like pulling her sleeve down over her hand. And she's like, no, I really don't want to show you. And he's like, well, listen, if we don't know what's going on, then we can't treat you. And then you could like really get sick and basically die.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. So then she pulls her sweater down. She's got 2 horrendous cigarette burns on her arm in addition. So then they're like, oh my word. So it's like, I mean, she walks in, and the thing is, she walks in the first time we meet her with Trixie, and she's got something on her arm because she's wearing, I think, like a short sleeve shirt or dress or whatever. And Trixie's like, what happened? She's like, oh, I got my arm caught in a door. Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Then the next time she's got a black eye.
And I'm just saying, ma'am, because it's heartbreaking to me. Like, I'm not saying, ma'am, like, oh, anything negative towards towards Cherry. I'm just saying, like, it's been written all over her the whole time. Like, he is so horrible. Like, he is beating her to a pulp every single day.
Constantly.
Well, her eyes look like she's constantly crying. They've like red ringed 100%. She's got that like huge, massive like red patch around one of her eyes where he's clearly hit her, punched her, knocked her into something. By the way, this is his pregnant wife of mother of 4 of his kids. Okay, sorry guys. Ugh. Remember?
So this is a bit inappropriate, but I'm just going to say it now anyway. I've got a cigarette burn story. So when I was 18, just before we came to university, I went to Fuengirola with all my friends from home, who I'm still very best friends with. And two of them had a really big fallout because one of them was smoking and everyone was just so drunk. One of them was smoking. Yeah, on the face. It was
that
so
is
bad.
Terrible.
It was so bad, and they had a really bad fallout. And I was so drunk. I just remember we were all so drunk, and then she got a taxi home, so I went home with her because I felt so bad that I didn't want her to go home on her own. You know, just because you all have to look after each other, don't you? And they just literally didn't speak for like the whole holiday, and then one flew home early. It was awful. I'll tell you afterwards who they were.
Yeah,
one flew home early. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've never been on a trip that bad.
I mean,
although in all
I had a
fairness,
brilliant time,
I mean, I probably would have if I were her too.
For our listeners, when one of our friends got married, we went on our own honeymoon, all of us girls together. And we went to Spain, and we went on a day trip to Gibraltar. Jen was over with us, and Alex texted her dad and told her dad that she was back in the UK.
Oh yeah, like a bit of a joke, like, "Hey dad, I'm back in the UK, lols." And he was like, "Oh my God," rang me straight away, like, "Are you okay?" It totally backfired on me.
Can I just say though, that was a crazy trip because I don't think any of us were really honest with each other about what we were like really trying to get after in a vacation, and I think it stressed us out.
Oh, I had a really great time.
I had a great time too, but the thing is, every day you guys you just complained so much about how hot it was, and I was like, well, you were in the south of Spain. Where do you? What do you
me and
think
Becky
is
were
gonna
like
happen?
lying naked on marble floors, weren't we, Bex?
Like literally, you were just like, oh my God, it's so hot every single minute, and I was
I
like,
had a fringe.
What
Yeah.
did you think was gonna happen?
I'm
crazy.
not good in the
Before I had my
heat.
fringe, I had like a 2010 sweeping fringe. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, listeners, when I tell you, like, we've all flew back to the UK together, and I flew, Bex, I think you were with us. Like, I think the three of us flew back to your house, Al. And you guys were like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be back in Britain. It's so much nicer here. It was so hot there.
We were dying of heat exhaustion. I can't take the heat. I've got a little ginge. Do you know what I mean? It's on my jeans.
I know, but why did we agree to go to the south of Spain then?
Because we had a free apartment. That's bloody right.
You just got to, I mean, you have to endure the heat, but it doesn't mean you can't moan about it.
Yeah, Jen. That's something we enjoy.
It was a wonderful vacation. Anyways, yes.
So, sorry to make an inappropriate thing about something very serious, because this was we were talking about.
I feel like there's a lot of serious topics in this. Obviously, domestic violence, like obsessive compulsive disorder, which I made light of saying about my own germs.
Well, to another episode, I said abandon a baby when I meant like give it up for adoption, and I realised afterwards I thought that's awful, but I kept it in. So sorry, everyone. Anyway,
I mean,
yeah. It's a fictional show.
So, well, also, all of our listeners know that we like really take all of this incredibly seriously. We're just trying to discuss with brevity. So yeah.
Levity.
Yeah. What does brevity mean?
Brevity means short, quick, brief.
That's the last thing we are.
Oh God, I know.
I said that as a joke the other week, and then I kept it in, and then I realised people who hadn't heard me say it before would think I meant brevity, not levity. Anyway, that's by the by.
Oh, so, I think I've been using brevity wrong for like a while now.
I thought we'd been doing it as a joke, but apparently not. So
we don't know when Jen's been saying this. She could have been saying it at work.
So anyway,
well, maybe that's part of my levity is my brevity or something. Okay,
we'll get you a t-shirt. So anyway, so Nancy, Becky, I want to hear your thoughts on this. So Nancy was in the cubicle when they were talking about that, and I thought she was very judgy about Cherry breaking the law, and then she brought it up with Trixie because she said she wanted to talk about it, and we do know the context of why she was so angry now, but at the time when she was being so judgmental on Cherry, who was in an absolute dire strait, like she saw the state of her with her black eyes and her cigarette burns. What did you think of that scene then?
I thought it was completely understandable. Because Nancy is so new to the profession that
she saw the pain in that. She saw the woman with black eyes. And...
Wait, hold up. So we're asking Bex, what was your reaction to Nancy getting into it with Trixie about,
her being quite judgy at that time.
Yeah.
She said, our job is to be, she doesn't understand why Dr. Turner didn't report her because she'd obviously attempted to perform an abortion on herself. And
can I just say, Bex, I want to step in here really quick. At what point ever has Nancy shown professionalism?
Yes. She got reprimanded one episode ago for her lack of professionalism.
So my point being, she's obviously never stuck to the line ever.
Was it justified when she was reprimanded?
Yes, absolutely it was justified.
Why do you look...
I think it's understandable. She's very new to her career. She hasn't got the confidence to use the same amount of discretion as Dr. Turner.
Yeah, but she's also got the confidence to be that judgy.
She's been raised by nuns, so that's why she's so judgy.
But the thing is, last week she had a whole thing with the teenage girl who was like a teen mom, and she was like, well, I'll let the boyfriend in because I think that's what's right, and like I go by what the patient thinks, and like honesty is more important to me than anything, and blah 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 blah. It's like this woman is bearing her soul to you and the doctor and the midwife in front of you, and you're just like throw her to the law, like let the law take care of her. You know, it's like
I think abortion and visiting hours are two very different things.
Nope.
They are, to be fair. But nope. So anyway, Nancy storms off saying the law's the law and we all have to follow it or everything else falls apart. And Trixie and the rest of the mute midwife, pupil midwives are all kind of sat there.
Can I just say all of them were saying really problematic things though, because the one girl was like, I don't understand why she, did this thing or whatever, and then the other girl was like, well,
you can always say no.
Yeah, and like just make your husband do it, and Trixie is like, well, she really can't make her husband do it. That's kind of the problem. And then the other midwife was like, well, if I had a man do that to me, like I'd leave him straight away. And she's like, yeah, okay, maybe you would, but like let's just, you're not everybody, so maybe we just take a chill pill on this.
Like she's expecting a fifth baby. Like that's not an option for her to just walk away.
Yeah. Well, also all of them just had completely unhelpful, unrealistic. But
Jen, they're so new and naive, and do you know what I mean? Like it's understandable. They did.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree, but then maybe check yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say whatever you want, and like I do think there's something to be said for kind of just putting it out there.
They're not saying it to the patient, Jen. They're just saying it between themselves in a discussion.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So I think they have to be able to go back and talk about.
I just don't think Nancy storming off was either helpful or professional of her to do that.
Yeah, for someone who's complaining about that. I just think if the other student midwife who'd been dead judgy in there had seen what she'd just seen, I just don't think you could be that judgy. And obviously we know that Nancy has got something else, which we'll talk about, but let's finish off the Cherry, not Connie Watson. So Trixie goes around to see her again, and Cherry opens the door, and she basically says she just seems dead ashamed of everything, doesn't she? And Trixie's like, do you know what, actually, I can speak to the council for you. I can't promise it'll have an effect, but I can see if I can get something sorted for you housing wise. And this is when she's like, he's not a bad man. He's just lost. He does love me in his way. And you're like, yeah, whatever. So then she was like, we can try another pill and all this. And it's the way she sounds. I don't want to sound pathetic because I don't mean pathetic in a nasty, derisory way. I mean pathetic in a voice as very meek. But she's like, why are you doing this for me? And Trixie's like, it's my job, Mrs. Watson. And there was no reconciliation for the Mrs. Watson situation. We got no happy ending for her.
None. And there probably wasn't a happy ending there.
Absolutely not. That man was going to continue to do exactly what he's been doing.
But you know what?
He wasn't going to change.
Actually, I don't think they could give it a happy ending because in real life there probably wasn't a happy ending for that situation.
For thousands. I mean, like, we haven't called back to the books in a minute, but like in the books they talk, Jennifer Worth talks about that almost like it would be more rare for a husband not to beat his wife or be abusive to his that's not right language, be physically abusive to his wife than not in this time. And so if you weren't in a marriage where that was a thing that happened, then you were absolutely the 100% outlier of that. So, I mean, this dynamic is 100% the norm at this time. It's 100% going to continue. The thing that I just felt absolutely tragic for is the little kids are so cute and so sweet. They've got a couple little girls that you see on a couple of these scenes. And it's 1966. They look like they're between 5 and 8 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. So you got to think like these are going to be adult women in the 1980s.
Yeah,
they're going to be like coming into the world as like first wave feminists, second, like just the beginning of like second wave feminism and everything, like having grown up with watching their dad do this to their mom their whole lives and everything. Like I just thought about the legacy of this kind of a family more than the fact that Cherry herself was ever going to get out of it, because I think the only relief she's ever going to get is if he basically dies. Sorry.
Yeah, but I think it's also quite powerful that there wasn't a resolution to this story because they were also talking about the abortion reform bill. So obviously it's all to do with that kind of thing. So I think maybe that was the intention, to have it quite powerful to show that this is the reason that abortion needs to happen.
Yes, exactly.
So Trixie wrote to the Times, which is still a massive newspaper over here to this day, in support of the abortion reform bill. Can I just say, I absolutely loved how much Dr. Turner was loving it. It was like the best day of his life.
And I know, and Sheila was more nervous about it than he was. He's like, well, she should have a say. And she said her say quite well, I think. He was like,
well, she was more concerned because of the nun aspect, wasn't she?
The nun aspect, yes, absolutely. She was, yeah, definitely.
But then who else was not happy about it?
Sister Julianne.
Well, Nancy. Nancy was there, mouthing off against Nurse Franklin again, against the other people midwives.
The part, and then
what do you think of that, Bex?
I think everybody knew that what Trixie had said was controversial.
Yeah, but Nancy just seemed more angry, and now we obviously know why.
I don't even know that it's controversial. I just think it was because of the fact that she's with Nonnatus. That's why I think it was
that's why
it's controversial.
Yeah, I'd say. So anyway, Trixie has a moment with Nancy in the kitchen, and Nancy's like, I'm not angry that you wrote the letter, but I am angry. And then Trixie was like, would you want to speak about it? And then she's like, no. Storms off again.
Also Trixie was like, oh, like, is there any more hot water on that kettle? I'd love to have a cup of tea. She's like, no, there isn't.
But if there isn't water, there isn't water.
I know, but come on, you and I both know there's a nice way to say that. Like,
sorry, I've just finished it. Do you want me to reboil?
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
like, I'll fill
if
the
she
kettle
doesn't
again.
want to talk about it, she doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, we know you're an advocate of that. So
until you want somebody to talk about it.
So BBC call to speak to Trixie. Can I can identify with that, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our listeners know at this point about that, right?
They should do. Yeah, hopefully. Okay. I didn't speak about the abortion reform bill. Bit different to me.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke about much more important things. Call the midwife. So,
yes.
So Trixie speaks to Sister Julianne basically to try and get permission for it. And I really like this conversation between them because I think she thought she was going to get a flat no, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, sometimes I envy young women like you who do not have a deep faith but have a courage of convictions. And basically she was saying that in matters of conscience my faith will always come first, but I will speak to Mother Mildred on your behalf. And then you kind of a bit like, oh. And I actually did think when I first watched this, Mother Mildred is so progressive, I reckon she'll let her go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right.
And she did.
Yeah. And Phyllis gave her a lift. I love the fact that Phyllis gave her a lift because she was dead excited.
Where was Phyllis going? That was near the BBC.
She wasn't going into the centre of London. She was excited.
She went to the radio house.
She went to the broadcasting house because that's where all the radio stuff happens. That's where I went to record our thing for the Call the Midwife.
And also, can I just give a shout out because I mean Trixie's always so cool and stylish and beautiful, but her green two-piece outfit that she wore when she got the news about the BBC, and then the blue two-piece like skirt outfit with the hat that she wore when she went to the BBC were fabulous. She looked amazing. Those colors are gorgeous. It was the height of period fashion, but in a way that is so tasteful. And I feel like you could still wear them today and you would look really good. I mean, it's their dated looks, but still, like, I mean, God bless Nancy, but like the blue tights and those like crazy prints she have, and those like the bump it bouffant thing she's got. It's all, and like the two crazy long ponytails she has. I mean, it's very period, and they're doing a great job with it. But her look just like sends me, and but. Yeah, Trixie just looks so good.
So everyone was at home listening, loved it, just loved that
including Cyril.
Wait, I need to, if we're shouting out fashion, I need to shout out Phyllis's dressing gown from earlier in the episode.
Oh, yes.
Now, can I just say, listeners, Becky, for the first time in her life, has been proactive and actually sent me a picture of this already. I'm already aware of her love of this from her sending it to us. Actually, so she's not sent the ones that she promised however many weeks ago.
No, I can't. I don't know what episode those are from. If someone can remind me.
Well, Bex, but what about the Christmas banner?
Can someone actually please remind us so I can actually send it to Bex?
Jenn,
what did you say?
I said, what about the Christmas banner? And she was like, ah.
We know. This is what I'm like. But I love.
Oh wait, what did you love about the robe though?
It just looked so cozy, and I love the dressing gown.
It did. I love that it had the little like turn back collar with the little piping detail around it. It was a very good robe. I like that robe too. Yeah.
I took multiple screenshots of Phyllis as well, so that she didn't so she had a good expression. With respect to
I appreciate that. She'll appreciate that, Bex. So anyway, Trixie goes to do this radio show, and it's with some horrible, horrible men who just won't let her speak, and it's just really awful.
Also, can we just talk about the arguments that they make? At one point, one of these guys is like, well, the law as a law is working quite well, so why to change it? I'm like, sir, are you truly a moron? A law is working, therefore why change it? Like, I mean, and then it's like, oh, but if a doctor gives, if we allow abortions to happen, then aren't doctors just going to give abortions like willy-nilly to whoever think they should have an abortion, and then like weirdly discriminate against, like unsavory women because they don't want to recreate unsavory children? Like,
Thing is,
oh
though,
my
Jen,
God, the
what's awful
arguments
about this is they probably were the kind of conversations that were happening.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I am absolutely 100% on board with you that is what idiot men were saying at this time, and probably nowadays, and probably women too at some point.
Nancy got really annoyed listening to it, and
she was
saying, those men have no clue how women feel. And then she drops the bomb that she had a baby. Oh my God. I've never wanted to not be somewhere more.
It was after they had finished the episode. Everyone was kind of sitting there like, whoa. Phyllis has come in and she's like, did she do great? Everyone's like, yes, she did amazing. And then Nancy pipes up. I know. He was like,
Sister Frances's face was the most awkward face I've ever seen in my life.
I know. Her eyes were like saucers, literally. Like they were so wide.
And then Nancy doubled down, being like, don't look at me like that. Like, it just makes a more awkward situation more awkward.
I know. And she was like, well, what am I supposed to do?
And then Sister Julienne's like, Nurse Corrigan, come with me, please. Can I just say, I feel like in this episode, I've really loved the fact that you could tell Sister Julienne didn't like the nuns when they first came that dropped her off. Now I feel like she's like, I knew they were awful. I've got a retribution. Those awful nuns who lied to us. I hate them. I just feel like she was like proper like the nuns, did the nuns know? Yeah, of course they knew. Like, and she was like, what? They knew everything, even though, I just loved it. I loved it so much that Sister Julienne was like, I knew it. I knew those nuns were bad news.
I loved it. Nancy said that the Catholic Church was very good at managing misfortune.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? Ugh,
well,
yikes.
Yeah.
I will say,
also she explained that his daughter's in London, so that's why she wanted to go over there.
I just felt conflicted though, like about putting your child in an orphanage in the hopes that someday you'll be able to get her back. I felt very weird about that.
But she'd grown up in that. It was like a home. I don't think it was necessarily, and it was run by the same nuns that brought her up.
I know.
I don't think it was necessary. I'll put it this way. I don't think if it was terrible, she'd want a daughter to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was saying how she wanted to make a respectable life for herself.
Yeah.
And it was do that, she can make a life for her daughter too.
And it was sold that was a positive outcome because it was the nuns that had arranged it for her.
Well, also, can I just say that Sister Julienne was like, those sisters have falsified your references and character references. I do not know of a single hospital in London who would knowingly employ an unmarried mother or indeed admit to her onto a training course. And I just thought, God, that's so mad that in 1966 even, like it's 16 years or 14 years, whatever, since we've stopped. No, 10 years, sorry. But either way, it's a lot.
I wouldn't care, but in an earlier episode, Sister Julienne had been helping an unmarried mother.
Yeah. But I suppose they can't be seen. It's like a profession, isn't it? Like a nurse's profession. They have to be seen to be. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with it.
Well, this is the same conversation we had like 2 weeks ago when Trixie found out that Dr. Scarisbrooke was performing abortions. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like stigma by default. You know, I mean, it's just it's like you gotta if you're gonna follow the rules, you gotta follow the rules. Like,
and she is still a nun. You know,
I love she's under her roof. Nancy's plea to Sister Julienne was that she was trying to make a respectable life for herself, and I think that turned it around for Sister Julienne.
Yeah, but then she was like, "Can you not use some discretion?" And Sister Julienne was like, "Well, there is my discretion, and there are principles. There are my principles, and I don't know how they can be reconciled." And I thought that was
makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it was quite a big bombshell to be fair. Hey, speaking of bombshells. Who knocks on the door of Nonnatus House?
Hey,
Matthew Hale.
Ooga. Looking as fresh as ever, I would like to say. Oh my gosh. But he doesn't just come with his like cutie little self. He comes with a fat 100-pound donation to Nonnatus House.
Did anyone look up how much that is now in today's money?
Did you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
How much is it? How much
£2,380.69.
Oh, hello. That's a few night classes for you right there, isn't it?
That's what I thought. Yeah, let's get some materials to make some Indian cakes, please.
But he's gonna become I won't say anything, but yeah, I was like, good for you, Matthew.
Definitely. Anyone else got anything else to talk about?
What else was going on? I mean, there really wasn't. Yeah, Sister Monica Joan wasn't even in this episode. I mean, Lucille and Cyril were around, but nothing really happened with them. Phyllis was kind of around, but nothing really happened with her. I mean, Miss Higgins
Miss Higgins was an absolute boss. I was loving how stern she was at the start of the episode as well.
Also, props to her for getting everyone's name and address when they came to the class so that they could figure out who attended and then how to reach out to them afterwards.
Would you ever doubt it?
I mean, yeah,
I just love her so much.
Also, wait, did you guys clock the and God bless Sheila, that on those drives home with Dr. Turner, she's like, I love Miss Higgins, but, and then she talks about all the things that she roasted her for that day, and she's like, she's amazing, but Patrick, I'm gonna need a stiff drink when we get home and a cigarette to share, because again, Miss Higgins was like, Frances came in and she was like, oh, I'm looking for Mrs. Gupta or Mrs. blah 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 or whatever, and she was like, oh no, she wasn't looking for medical records, she was looking for a leaflet from a class that Sheila had done.
Yeah.
And Sheila was like, oh, I think you'll find it's in the bottom drawer. And Miss Higgins was like, well, actually, it's not in the bottom drawer anymore. I filed it this way because that makes far more sense alphabetically. And she gives Sheila the side eye, and Sheila's like,
but then she's also opens her on the fact that, lots of Sikh women are called Kaur, so I put them by their actually given first name as well, so you can find them easier. Basically schools Sheila, and Sheila's standing there, blood boiling.
I know, Sheila, that's when, Sheila, if it was, 2005, she'd be texting Dr. Turner, you better get me out of here!
That's like me texting my husband from work, and I do it about twice a day.
I mean, love Miss Higgins, but when she just really so indelicate about, just roasting everyone all the time. Oh, my God.
I just love Miss Higgins. I just love her,
she is
ridiculous levels.
Good. I mean, you need people like that in those jobs, though, because honestly, it's the only thing that keeps you afloat. But at the same time, she's practically OCD with her craziness about filing and everything else.
Yeah, but that's efficient, Jen.
Yeah, that's what you need. That's what you need.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. Have I told you the fact about that she's got the same birthday as my husband?
Miss Higgins?
Yeah, so she's got the same birthday as my husband, but 20 years exactly older, right? But she's also
wait. Are you talking about the character or the actress?
The actress. Not the character.
Okay.
I thought you knew Miss Higgins' birthday.
No, I don't know her birthday. I'm going to presume they've got the same. So anyway, they've got the same birthday, which is also my wedding anniversary. But also, she's got a graphic design degree.
Oh, the real lady.
Designer.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wait, actually, I've got a little real life thing here to tell you. So you guys know this, and now our listeners will know that I have had a really weird week, just a roller coaster of emotions and feelings and everything like that all week long for lots of different reasons. Everything's fine, just it's just life. And so I've been just doing different things to try to keep myself regulated and to good effect. But one thing that I did this week was I've been just feeling very nostalgic for 90s music and early 2000s music, and I love just regular top of the pops thing. I don't have any special musical genres or whatever that I'm so good about or whatever. But I was watching a thing and they mentioned the Dixie Chicks. Now the Chicks, right?
The Dixie Chicks.
Yes, I do too. And I was like, gosh dang, I have not listened to them in a long time. And so I was on my way to go see a client this week, and I put them on I put that music on as I was driving over there. It was a 15-minute drive, and it just played all the Spotify has the top hits, and I was like, okay, well, this will be enough because it's not a very long drive. I was crying, by the way. I listened to Cowboy Take Me Away, started crying, listened to Wide Open Spaces, kept on crying. They did a cover of Landslide that's really famous.
It's no Smashing Pumpkins Landslide, but it's outstanding.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But then here's the nice funny part. They get to Goodbye Earl, and if you have not listened to Goodbye Earl, I would like to Goodbye Earl Mr. Watson from this episode, because he needs to eat some black eyed peas and go to sleep, and then they can dump him in a truck and everything. I just am it's such a good, it's got the style of a classic, folk song where they tell a story and it's in a kind of, narrative history or whatever, but it's also so funny, and the tune is so catchy, and it's about women who are standing together and are going to be partners for life and everything. And Goodbye Earl, A+, Dixie Chicks.
You know who I've been listening to ridiculous amounts, and it's also a very in that time frame. My daughter is obsessed with Avril Lavigne.
Oh,
absolutely!
He was a skater boy. She said, "See you later, boy."
She loves her. We listen to that constantly. We listen to Boyfriend. That is a tune. Complicated. She just absolutely loves her. So we've been listening to a lot of Avril Lavigne. I mean, it's quite on brand for Bob's, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Bob's is very, I can see Bob's. Yeah, if she starts wearing a tank top with a tie and dark black eyeliner, then you really got something on your hands.
To be fair, she's about one step away from that anyway. We went shopping this weekend and she was really gutted because she couldn't find any black skinny jeans. So I'm not wearing that. She's been skating all weekend. She's got a skateboard for Christmas, and all she wants to do is she just keeps practicing in the hallway. She went out with my husband today outside, so she's just trying to be a skater now. She just loves it.
Have you got a skate park near you?
We have. She's nowhere near that level yet. She'll kill herself.
She needs to master just going down a flat road.
She just needs to
master
actually being able to go along. But she's giving it her all, and I actually didn't think she would, if I'm honest. So well done.
I mean, good for her, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Should we do heroes and zeros, ladies?
Let's go for it.
Do you want to go first, Bex?
My hero is Nancy. No, it's not.
Oh my god.
I'm not actually. My hero is Raj Gupta. He's just lush in every way.
Yeah.
And my zero
is
Pete Watson for being the absolute polar opposite.
Antithesis of Gupta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've taken my zero, so I need to probably think about that. So in the meantime, I'll do a hero, and that is Sister Francis.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's fantastic. Really loved her. I also special mention to Miss Higgins as well, because I absolutely loved her.
Yeah.
My zero is those doctors that spoke awfully to Trixie in the radio.
Yes.
I think because they were just awful.
They suck.
I hated everything about them.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do my hero and zero. My zero is going to be that absolute nightmare of nightmare train ride that Mrs. Gupta went on when she was a little girl. What did you say? It was for the partition?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know a ton about that, but based on this, I'm going to assume it was a terrible and horrible thing that happened. And ultimately, there's a lot of complicated history around it. But that story that she told about that experience sounded like a horror I couldn't even imagine. And obviously, it deeply, deeply affected her. No wonder. And I just felt terrible. And when she was crying and everything, I just felt so bad. And so that's my zero. And then my hero is going to be Trixie, because she stood up for her beliefs and she said what she thought and she took a risk and she did it in a very professional way. She did it in a very sensitive way and she didn't let herself get kowtowed by those horrible men on the radio. And I am just really impressed by that. It's hard to do what she did, and I think she deserves credit for it. And just, we haven't talked about this in a while, but I feel like this is the evolution of Trixie throughout the show that is so rewarding and gives me a lot of reason to really love and just care about her character. And I will say it was really gratifying to see Matthew come to Nonnatus, not to see her, but to support the person that supported him and flex that kind of altruistic side of himself, because we're going to see that more as we go forward.
Yeah, but do we think maybe he was hoping to catch a glimpse of Trixie?
I mean, maybe, but also, did you see Lucille's face when she had to do? She's like, hello? Why are you here, sir? Do you want to come in and talk to Sister Julianne? Anyways, but it was all very above board. I'm being silly. But anyways, I just feel like she's grown so much as a character, and I don't know, it's just interesting. This is what makes the show good. I just like this depth, you know what I mean? They're just, it's not one-dimensional, it's really thoughtful. And
but I do feel like I said at the start, as time goes on, they are getting more complicated, because obviously we're learning more about these people's lives. Their lives are more intertwined.
Right.
Listening to those, we used to do it in 140 minute. We can't even we're getting close to being 240 minutes at the moment. It's hard to pack it all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't help me detail so much, if I'm honest.
Yes, but
now I've got time for some correspondence, just one really quick.
Okay.
So Steph has been listening to our podcast. Obviously, we've had a bit of a break, blah, blah, blah. So she says, I went back and looked, probably should have done that first. And Val says that she was in the Queen Alexandra's Army Corps. So it sounds like she would have been nursing soldiers in field hospitals and at Commonwealth-based hospitals. I guess we just assumed that involved midwifery training at some point. So Becky, to answer your question, there we go.
Okay.
Lovely. I can't remember my question. It involved Val.
Well, we all wondered, like, how did she get the job, I think. Or what did, anyway, yeah, something about that. Something about her qualification.
Becky, who's messaged about Jen's questions about waters during labour. Do you want to know?
Oh, do we? We've had placenta gate this week.
I mean, I love a listener who takes time out, so I'll vote yes.
Okay. So To answer Jen's question about waters during labour, everyone is different, so no two labours are the same. My first and second were very different, and I have no doubt mine was nothing like yours, Alec. But in general, when a woman is pregnant, the baby is surrounded by the waters in the womb. Some have lots of fluid, others not so much. And when she goes into labour, the water under the baby's head will come out sometimes in a gush, others in a trickle. It feels like you've wet yourself, but smells different to urine. Yeah. Urine. They say it smells like straw. I'm like, I don't know what bloody straw smells like. Anyway, then as the uterus contracts and pushes the baby out, fluid will come out once the baby is out. If there is any more fluid left, it will come out with the baby as well as blood. And once the placenta is out, more blood will essentially form the internal wound where it was attached to the uterus. Blech. Then the uterus will become then the uterus will become a hard ball feeling shape. The midwife will massage that to ensure it is contracted. But that hurts like nothing else. I used to say to ladies before I had my babies that it might hurt a little bit, but I was very wrong. It hurts a lot. I totally agree. I was like, they were like, oh, it won't hurt. It bloody dead. I hope that makes sense. A woman's body is a truly fascinating and amazing. True, Becky, but also minging.
Wait, Becky must be a nurse as well as a mom, right?
Yes, she's the one who's pen pal to my daughter who hasn't actually sent a letter.
Also,
she's the one who was biking around Australia and stuff.
Oh, yes. Okay. Right
so
on.
I remember your question. I don't remember my own question. Your question,
yeah,
Jen, is when the babies are born, there's like a gush of water. So that's right.
Yeah, because they were doing all these gushies, and I was like, why is it so like? And I mean, it makes sense, it's really medically accurate, but I mean, look, birth is so miraculous, but it's also just so disgusting at the same time, and like you just have to hold that contradiction in your head, you know?
Someone in my office was like, oh, it's a sexually transmitted disease, a baby. I was like, that's horrible.
Funny that someone at your office said that. I do know your office is mostly men, so I mean, I know they make definitely more colorful jokes.
Yes. So I don't know if it was a joke, if I'm honest. So anyway, next week we will be watching and then talking about series 10, episode 7. So if you'd like to watch and then listen along so you know what we're talking about, that would be fantastic. And follow us on X, Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. Leave us a comment. Oh, YouTube as well. We've got a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. You can't see our faces though, sorry. Although I do need to get something. It's really annoying. We used to have our cover picture up there, but then they've stopped. I have to upload it myself now to YouTube. Honestly, guys, stuff I've learned since doing this podcast.
No.
Oh my god!
So I have to like upload it to YouTube myself. I have to convert it to a movie, blah 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 blah. But I haven't got any picture to put on there, so I'm going to try and work on that. It's just
do a screenshot right now.
No. I mean, I look great, but it's you two I'm worried about.
I don't. I look bad.
I mean, I've done a knit treatment on my hair today, guys. You know what I mean? So,
pajamas and dressing gown, Nurse Crane style.
Oh my god!
I actually don't have knits, by the way. There's knits in my daughter's class. We don't think she's got it. We've done the knit treatment anyway because we're responsible. Anyway, that's by the back. So yeah, so follow us, like, subscribe, listen to us next week. That'd be fantastic, and we shall see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.